In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to set up Google Consent Mode. Google Consent Mode is Google's way of ensuring that consent choices get properly passed into Google Tag Manager so that Google knows which tags to fire and which ones to leave off to ensure we're respecting the privacy rights of our website visitors. To put that in layman's terms, when I visit a website and I see a cookie consent banner, if I accept all, Google knows to let all tags fire. If I click deny all, Google needs to know to keep all tags paused and unfired. However, if I visit a website and I say, I accept Google Analytics for, but I decline Hotjar, that granular level of data needs to be passed into Google Tag Manager so Google Tag Manager knows, oh, I'm going to allow this script to fire, but I'm not going to let this script fire. And that is the essence of consent mode. It is granular consent choices being passed into Google Tag Manager so that Google knows which tags to fire and which ones to leave off. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to do that. What you will need is access to your website's backend. You'll need access to your Google Tag Manager account, and you'll need access to your Termageddon account as well. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be updating the Google Tag Manager script. We're then going to discuss advanced versus basic mode, consent mode, and then we will implement the updates and test all in this video. I'm sure you're all just so excited to go through this, but hopefully we'll be efficient here and get you all set up. All right, let's start by going through some documentation. So the first thing we need to do, also just to note, this is a Google Doc, but chances are you're watching this in a more formal web page with instructions. But in those instructions, you should see the very first step is to replace the Google Tag Manager script with the new Google Tag Manager Consent Mode script. So to do that, you hop into the back end of your website, and I'm using Code Snippets to not only manage the initial setup, which was the original Google Tag Manager script, and then Google Tag Manager also comes with the body script. But to set up consent mode, I need to turn off the script that goes into the header, and I need to replace it with the consent mode script. So I'm going to go to the HTML tab here, and I'm going to paste in what is provided in the documentation. Now we do have to update one little piece of the script, which is copying over our Google Tag Manager ID and putting it in here, replacing all the X's, and then selecting Display in Site Header section. Let's go ahead and save our changes. And let's head back to all snippets, and we confirmed the Google Tag Manager Consent Mode script is activated and the body tag remains unchanged. Okay, that's step one. Great job. Let's move to step two. So enabling consent mode is something that has to be done within Termageddon. So if you are a Termageddon customer using consent mode, that's what we're going to set up. So what you need to do is head over to your log into Termageddon, head over to your license and click into it. Click Edit for the Cookie Policy and Consent tool. Scroll down. And here you'll see the option to enable Google Consent Mode. Make sure to click Enable. And down here, you should see the tag Google Tag Manager. Now, if you don't see that tag, I recommend you run a sitemap scan first. So type in your sitemap URL here, say yes, it's a sitemap, and click Run Scan. It should populate in the results, but you can always add it manually by clicking Add Service, Predefined, and locate the Google Tag Manager script and click Add Service. Now I've already added it, and so all I have to do now is click Google Tag Manager. You'll get the modal to pop up, and under General, change the category from Functional to Essential. Click Update Service, click Next. And now when we visit the website, which I always recommend doing in a fresh incognito window, we see the consent banner. And when I click More Information under Essential, Google Tag Manager is listed. So I know that the changes have been reflected. Excellent. Let's move to the next stage. This is an optional step, which is to enable Consent Overview beta within Google Tag Manager. This feature has been in beta for I think, over 2 years now. So I'm just going to not even take that step. You really don't need to either. You may not even see that in the documentation, but if you want to pause this video and see these steps, those will show you how to do it. But I really haven't gained much value from it. Hasn't been needed when testing. So feel free to skip it. All right, on the next step, decide on advanced or basic consent mode. All right, so this is the hardest part for you today because you're going to have to make a decision on what you want to do about privacy and your website visitors' privacy rights and what you want to obtain as a website visitor or website owner as it relates to analytics data. So Google, when releasing consent mode, they released basic consent mode and they released advanced consent mode. And what that basically means is when you're using Google related scripts, when you're firing Google related scripts through Google Tag Manager, think Google Analytics, Google Ads, Conversion Linker, these things that are owned by Google. When you have those scripts running, you have a choice you get to make. You can go the basic route, which is the most privacy friendly route, which involves creating variables and triggers, which then we assign to that tag and only allow to fire when a user truly consents. Or you can go the advanced route, which is basically you don't have to do anything from here on out. And Google has set up consent mode in a way to allow the tags to fire, but not place tracking cookies on the user's browser. And what this basically means is Google is sending these things called cookieless pings, which give them basic data about the website visitor and like what pages are about the website visitor's interactions with the website. So like what pages they visited, if they scrolled or not down a page, but they don't combine that data until a user clicks accept all. And that's when a cookie gets placed on the user's browser and it starts tracking users. This is called Google Advanced Consent Mode, and it is not as privacy friendly as basic consent mode. Google claims that advanced consent mode only collects IP briefly and then instantly anonymizes the data. So you have to decide if that's right for you. In this video, I will be showing advanced consent mode and we'll be setting that up. Well, there's nothing to set up, but we'll be demonstrating that with Google Analytics 4 here. But I'll be using basic consent mode for Hotjar. Hotjar is not owned by Google. And for any tags that you're firing through Google Tag Manager that are not Google related products, you do need to set up basic no matter what. So to summarize that, if you're loading Google's related products as tags through Google Tag Manager, you can choose to do advanced, where it doesn't really take any extra steps, but it's not as privacy friendly, but you get more data. Or you can go basic, which is following best privacy practices, ensuring we get consent first before we collect any data whatsoever about a website visitor's session. And then for all non-Google products, you do have to follow the steps for basic consent mode. Quite a mouthful. There will be an explanation in the write-up in the documentation that you're reviewing. In this video, I'll be showing how to do both. Okay, so we're going to start by deciding, okay, well, Google Analytics, it's a Google product. I'm just going to go the advanced route for that. And Hotjar, that's a non-Google product, so I do have to set up basic consent mode for that. All right, we've made our decision. We're going to go to the next step. So we're going to set up basic consent mode for all other non-Google related tags. So what we need to do is we need to set up a variable, a trigger, and assign that trigger to Hotjar in this example. So what we need to do, head over to variables, and for user-defined variables, click new, and we're going to call this one Hotjar variable just to keep things organized. And on the when you click into variable configuration, I believe you can search, and I believe it is custom event. Let me double check that. No, it is data layer variable, sorry. So when you search for data layer variable. And then for the data variable layer variable name, we're going to title this Hotjar. And it is very important that the text you have here exactly matches the name of the service that we're connecting this to. So for Hotjar, you can confirm this in your Termageddon account, for example. If you go into the cookie policy and consent tool questionnaire, right there we have Hotjar, capital H, all one word. Okay, Hotjar, capital H, all one word. Good. And then set default value to false, all lowercase, and click save. We've now set up the variable. Our next step is to set up a trigger. And so therefore we go to triggers, click new. Let's title it Hotjar trigger, just to keep things organized. And let's choose a trigger type. Now for this one, I'm pretty sure it's custom event. And let's verify that. Yes, custom event. I'm going to copy this ahead of time because for the very next stage, we need to paste that in here. Make sure you copy and paste this exact thing. It'll be right in the instructions. Just copy and paste that into this field for event name and say use regex matching. And then for this trigger fires on, select some custom events. You need to now select the variable. So we'll search Hotjar variable because that's the variable we just created. And once that says true, this trigger will be allowed to fire. Let's go ahead and click save. We've now connected this trigger to this variable. And now we have to connect the trigger to the actual Hotjar tag. So let's go over to tags on the left-hand side, click Hotjar. And for triggering, let's edit this. Let's remove whatever we originally had in there when you first set up the Hotjar tag. And let's go ahead and click in here. And now you'll see the Hotjar trigger being available. Let's go ahead and click save. And we have just set up basic consent mode for Hotjar. So let's now go and test. We have advanced consent mode for Google Analytics 4. And what does that mean? That means we have not changed the trigger. We just kept it at initialization all pages. And we have Hotjar firing only when the Hotjar consent is treated as true or labeled as true. All right, so let's go ahead and preview and let's connect. And you'll be brought to your website to test. Now, this is an extremely important step. You need to be seeing a fresh version of your website when testing. And I know I don't have a fresh version because I didn't see the initial cookie banner. I see the fingerprint icon, but I don't see that initial cookie banner. So we need to get a very cleared out version of our website. So to do that, I am going to log out for one and then reopen this. And I'm going to do a couple things. So I'm using Chrome. I'm going to click this little icon on the left-hand side of my domain URL, and I'm going to click Cookies and Site Data, Manage On-Device Site Data, and I'm going to delete all these data pieces. I'm going to keep Termageddon in there because that just won't interact with it, and I'm going to click Done. Then I'm going to right-click, Inspect, then right-click the refresh button and click Hard Reload. And sure enough, we are now presented the cookie consent banner. So we know we're seeing a fresh version of the site. I'm going to head back into the Tag Assistant window. I'm going to click Delete. And I'm going to refresh this page. Also, while inspecting, I'm going to head over to Application, Cookies. I'm going to clear out all cookies. I'm going to right-click and hard reload one last time. Forgot to do that earlier. Okay, good. We don't have any Hotjar cookies. We don't have any Google Analytics cookies. I'm going to clear and refresh one more time. I don't think we'll have any cookies at all. Okay, some kind of anonymous cookie. All right, no big deal. That's unrelated to us here. So, all right, so now let's head over to Tag Assistant. And I'm going to refresh the website one more time. You can just do a regular refresh. There's the consent banner. And we have the consent. When we click 10 consent, over here we see that all services are denied by default. That is necessary to comply with laws like GDPR, UK Data Protection Act, CIPA, Canada's PIPEDA, Canada's Quebec Law 25, and so forth. But for now, let's just get back to the steps here. When I go to the tags thing, I see that Google Analytics is fired. However, when I inspect the code, there is no Google Analytics script. Even when I switch over to different pages, no Google Analytics code. Now, let's click more information in the consent window. let's expand marketing, and let's turn on Google Analytics and click Save Changes. Did you see that? Google Analytics just fired right here. So Google Analytics is fired. And when we can click consent status, we even see analytics storage has been granted. Now, when we click between pages and scroll, all that data is being collected. Scroll depth, great. So we have everything being recorded and the cookie exists. Now, if I delete all cookies, like via inspecting, those cookies come right back. They come right back because I haven't denied Google Analytics. However, if I click deny and clear these cookies and switch between pages, we do not see the Google Analytics script or cookies loading anymore. We now have successfully tested and confirmed that Google's advanced consent mode is properly set up. Now, what about Hotjar? We haven't tested Hotjar yet, so let's go ahead and expand the consent window, enable Hotjar, click Save Settings, and there go all the Hotjar cookies. And as we scroll around, Hotjar is now tracking us as website visitors because we've consented to it. And when we click the fingerprint icon again and click Accept All, there come the GA cookies, the Google Analytics cookies. Okay. Good. Now, when I click Deny All and switch between pages, we still have these cookies displayed. However, they're not being actually utilized anymore. And we can confirm this because when we click X and delete all the cookies and go back to other pages, they do not load back into the browser. So we are no longer utilizing cookies anymore because we click Deny. And sure enough, when we check, explicit denial has been passed and consent status has everything turned off. Now, if you have like Google Ads and you're testing this out, you'll see ad storage turns on and off based on user consent choices and so forth. But this video helps show now how to set up the consent mode using advanced consent mode and also how to set it up using basic using these two different examples. Now, if you're like, you know what, I want to follow best privacy practices, I want to go basic for Google Analytics as well. That's great. Let's head over to variables. Let's create a new variable. We'll call it Google Analytics 4 variable. And don't forget, this is data layer variable. And then this, the data layer variable name, has to exactly match what you have listed in your Termageddon account. So for this, it's Google Analytics, Google space Analytics, capital G, capital A. So I'm going to paste that in exactly. Set default value to false. Save. Triggers. New trigger. Label it. Create a new trigger. This one's the custom event. And here we take exactly this text, copy that, paste it in here, say, yes, it's rejects, some custom events, and we're going to say Google Analytics 4 contains true. Click Save. Let's go back to tags. We're going to click into Google Analytics 4. And I'm talking a little bit faster here, but again, this is just a replay of what we just did for Hotjar. So you can rewatch the Hotjar if I'm talking too fast. All right, we clicked into the Google Analytics tag. We're gonna edit the trigger. We're gonna start by removing what we originally had in there. And now we're going to add the Google Analytics 4 trigger. Let's click Save. And let's test this out. As a reminder, when testing, you have to clear out previous consent browser sessions. So I click this little icon in Chrome, click cookies and site data, manage on-device site data, delete out everything except for Termageddon, and then right-click and inspect. And you can even clear cookies right here. So, sorry, I probably should mention this. When you right click and inspect, you can go to application cookies and see the cookies that are loading on a website. Once you inspected, you can right click the refresh button, click hard reload, and we should see the cookie consent banner display again. Good. Okay, now when we go back here, I'm going to start from a fresh point. So I'm going to refresh this again. I deleted the summary and then I refreshed the page. Okay, and we see no tags have fired. So previously with advanced consent mode, Google Analytics 4 was firing. It just was sending their cookieless pings. But now, since we have basic mode set up, Google Analytics 4 didn't fire it at all. So even while I'm scrolling and clicking between pages, no scrolls are being recorded at all. Now, if I go in and I accept Google Analytics, save settings, Hotjar is still set to deny. Analytics storage is true. And there are the GA cookies. And when I click home, the GA cookies remain with me. As I scroll should start to be recorded as well. Good. And now when I deny everything, and clear out the cookies just for tracking purpose, or just so that you can test this, when I click between pages, the GA cookie no longer loads. And I'll scroll, and we're not getting any scroll recordings as well. So as you see with basic consent mode, you're getting less data from your website visitors, but you're also not collecting their IP address and sharing it with Google, who then anonymizes the data to give them the benefit of the doubt. They instantly anonymize it. That's what they state. Google says they instantly anonymize it. And then they are able to make cookieless pings and give you a lot more data insights. So that's one of the big decisions you have to make as a website owner now is, do you want to use advanced consent mode for all the Google related products and get more data? Or do you want to follow like the ultimate best privacy practice and only have those tags fire after consent is achieved? So this video showed you what consent mode is, how to get fully set up, a discussion of advanced versus basic with instructions on how to set up both, using Termageddon along with the Code Snippets WordPress plugin. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you have a working consent mode setup now that you've watched this video. We're available at Termageddon. If you do have any questions, if you want to get set up with our platform, you're more than welcome to. And yeah, we hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.